Honorable Zorro, you can now move your motion.
I represent Gumel Gagarawa, Sule, and Megatari Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Jigawa State. This House, mindful of the scale of human displacement often caused by arbitrary acquisition of farmlands belonging to Nigerian peasant farmers by foreign companies under the pretext of investment and development, disturbed by the land-grabbing activities of a Chinese company called Mrs. Lee Group in many states in the northern parts of the country, the latest of which is its incursion into Jigawa.
Sorry, Honorable Zorro, there's a point of order, but before then, is this a sustained point of order? You allow him to read his motion, then if you have point of order, you can raise it. Okay, no, if you have a point of order on the sitting, please, you can raise it. Because I was going to raise a point of order on it myself.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Hon Mohammed Sani Zorro, Federal Constituency. I am raising point of order 9, Rule 60, subsection 9. It says, during a sitting, all members shall be silent or shall confer only in undertones. Sir, the sitting today is extremely very rumporous and noisy, and I think we cannot even hear what our brothers and colleagues are saying. Suffice to say that we understand what they are saying so that we can contribute meaningfully. And I drawing even the speaker is not listening. The House to really go on the undertone so that we can hear those people with motions.
Honorable Zakari, go back to your seat. Honorable Omidron, go back to your seat. Please. Chair Aviation, please go back to your seat also. Honorable Zakari Galadima, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, my namesake, Mohammed Sani, for that very progressive observation.
Honorable Daniel Reneju, please, can you go back to your seat? That is not his seat.
Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues, this House, mindful of the scale of human displacement that is often caused by arbitrary acquisition of farmlands belonging to Nigerian farmers by foreign companies under the pretext of investment and development, this House, disturbed by the land-grabbing activities of Chinese company called Mrs. Lee Group in many states in the northern parts of Nigeria, the latest of which is its incursion into Jigawa State, alarmed by the company's ploy to forcefully acquire over 15,000 hectares of farmlands, thereby dispossessing more than 10,000 peasant farmers in over 35 farming communities in Gagarawa local government of my constituency, ostensibly to grow sugar cane, and against the will of majority people who own these farmlands, aware of the tension and the threats of breakdown of law and order in the area, consequent upon the company's audacity to proceed with an illegal compensation exercise since Tuesday, November 10th, despite a lawsuit and stiff resistance by owners of the farmlands, cognizant of the federal government's food security policy, which prioritizes the cultivation of food crops over industrial sugarcane for the benefit of Chinese, but inimical to the survival of Nigerian peasant farmers and legitimate owners of the farmlands in dispute, and conscious of the fact that we cannot build our nation if we continue to elevate the citizens of other nations above our own citizens, and committed to our oaths of office as public officers of upholding the fundamental duty of the state to place the protection of lives and property of our citizens first and at all times, this House therefore resolves to request an immediate halt to the so-called compensation exercise and all other activities being stage managed by the company on the disputed farmlands. asks all authorities and parties, especially the government of Jigawa State, to resist the temptation of supporting the neo-colonial adventures of a foreign front company that is intent on dispossessing Nigerian citizens of their land resources and subjecting them to perpetual slavery in their own country. That the government of Jigawa State, the Gagarawa Sugarcane Farmers Cooperative Society, the elected representatives of the people in the area at various levels, and other secondary but relevant stakeholders should join hands to de-escalate tension, avert a looming crisis, and create an atmosphere for the return of the status quo ante that is conducive for constructive engagement of the parties in dispute. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, that this honorable House sets up a committee of not less than 6 members to investigate the matter and report back within 2 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Motion was quite extensive. I'll give you 2 minutes to adumbrate.
A foreign company, under the pretext of investing in Nigeria, has come to illegally acquire a portion of farmlands stretching 15 kilometers in length and 10 kilometers in width, approximately 15,000 hectares of land belonging to well over 10,000 peasant farmers, as well as involving over 35 farming communities in my constituency. They have not followed due process, and they are claiming to provide development to this constituency against the will of the people. And it is because of this that the affected farmers convened so many stakeholder meetings to express their rejection of this so-called development that will enslave them. Once these farmlands are taken over by the Chinese company, it will dispossess them all of these farmlands. It is not even willing to pay the correct fees for such acquisition. For instance, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, while in neighboring Kano State, a hectare of land attracts 500,000 naira for investor. In Jigawa State, it is 100,000 naira. And we have at all times insisted that this should be a deal between a willing seller and a willing buyer. And therefore, it cannot be taken over forcefully because it is not going to be in the overriding public interest. Overriding public interest by definition, and there are so many legal minds here, is a situation whereby government, the state, can take over land resources for the purpose of building stadia, roads, hospitals, and other public utilities for the benefit of the greater majority of people. But in this case, it's a commercial concern. It's a company that wants to do business, and therefore they should be allowed to negotiate how much if the farmers are indeed willing to sell their farmlands. Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues, my people are facing massive migration threats. If these farmlands are taken over, they will forcibly, against their will, migrate to other parts of Nigeria. Secondly, only last week, the office of Mr. President sounded a note of warning that beginning in January next year, Nigeria may face a looming famine situation. This is because grains are being taken out of Nigeria for export out of the country. And therefore, the need to stress food security as a national policy cannot be overemphasized. But this is a situation whereby this number of farmlands will be taken over forever, and to grow industrial sugarcane ostensibly. Our people are not interested in growing industrial sugarcane. What they want in terms of development are schools, for instance, the extension of amenities to facilitate so many agricultural policies and projects. And therefore, it is for this reason and other reasons that if we support this land grabber called Mrs. Lee Group that has acquired so much land resources on behalf of its own country in various parts of the northern parts of the country, it will amount to elevating Chinese over Nigeria, Chinese citizens over Nigerian citizens, Chinese business interests above our own national interests. And that cannot be the contemplation of the oath of office to which we all swore as public officers to put our citizens, their means of livelihood, their lives first among all other interests. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the outlines of this motion, and I thank you very much for the solidarity to these peasant farmers that I represent.
Honorable TJ Yusuf, please speak in undertone.
Sani Zorro once more, and I represent this constituency that is forwarding this case before this honorable house. And my response, my summarized response to all the beautiful and progressive inputs made from all sides are this. One, the peg of my motion, which is stated in the last paragraph, is to ask the House to investigate. And according to Section 88, the Parliament or this National Assembly can investigate any matter anywhere, and I hope I am in the right. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, there is a precedence that has been laid in a similar matter between the government of Jigawa State and Alhaji Sardauna Habib El-Leman, whereby some years ago, the government of Jigawa State also allocated his part of farmland to Mrs. Dangote Company for the purpose of growing sugarcane. And he went to court. Alhaji Sardauna Habib El-Leman went to court, and the High Court in Jigawa State ruled that the government of Jigawa State cannot force that citizen of Nigeria to sell his own property to Mrs. Dangote and Company. And that is what has prevailed. Second, this very house, my honorable colleagues, had waded into a similar motion that was tabled by me in the case of loyal citizens of Nigeria but deprived peasant community in part of my constituency in their case versus a community in Niger Republic. That investigation was led by no other person than the chief whip of the house. It was investigated, and I'm happy to report that that same case has been decided in the favor of Nigerian peasant farmers. It is on the grounds of this, Right Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues, that I wouldn't want us to subordinate the interests, the means of livelihood of Nigerians, which have all been captured in different sections of the Constitution, to the technicalities of law. Especially, this is a parliament. I am representing the aspirations, the concerns of these people. This particular motion that I have brought, which is in
Honorable Jerry,
public interest,
Jerry Olabeso,
is something like
ranking by age,
explained by other speakers, is something that is just investigative in nature. And like some have drawn parallel with what have happened in other countries, latifundia in Latin America, and quite a number of places have wreaked a lot of havoc. And then, the Right Honorable Speaker, like it has been observed, I drive the Committee on Internal Displacement. The three sources of displacement are the following. One, the insurgency that we face in Nigeria. Second, communal clashes from generalized violence and from development trigger. Development itself can trigger massive displacement. And I give you an example. All the universities that we have between Lagos and Ibadan, the areas they occupy, all the universities that are situated from here to Kefi in Nasarawa State, the property in which they now exist used to be farmlands or villages or towns of Nigerians. But because the issue of internal displacement, there is no policy in Nigeria, there is no policy guideline that would have made sure they are resettled and appropriately compensated. That is why whenever there are developments, these people get uprooted and they just disperse in various directions. Right Honorable Speaker, I want this House also to take note of the explosion in population in this country. And that is what is causing friction in so many communities because of demographics. And therefore, I will beg of this parliament, I will beg of my honorable colleagues to do justice to this case by making this case a test case where we can investigate and come out with what will probably
Honorable Chika, please. Honorable Chika, please.
But I can assure you.
Honorable Gumau, Honorable Sapana, Honorable Aminu Shehu Shagari, please, can you go back to your seat?
That while the interpretation given to the Land Use Act is not incorrect, but the peg of my argument is to allow for investigation, and I can tell you proactively that definitely there is a case by these people, and I can assure you that at the end of it, we are likely to sympathize on behalf of the people. I rest my case, Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues.
Oh, Honorable Members, but there's a question of law, and you should know that all of us here are under oath to defend the provisions of our laws. So, Honorable Osai, yeah, point to the relevant laws. Let's see whether it can be accommodated.
Yeah, it is based on this last argument that I came under Section 4, Subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Initially, I raised issues of Section 315, which is in line with the Land Use Act, as empowered the state to legislate upon that. Then, in building his argument, the last argument, he raised issues that we can investigate. We don't need to investigate for what we don't have power to do. And that leads me to Section 4, Subsection 3. He said the power of the National Assembly to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of the Federation with respect to any matter included in the exclusive list shall, save as otherwise provided in this Constitution, be to the exclusion of the House of Assembly of State. Now, do you now go to investigate where you don't have power to investigate? You'll be questioned when you go there. Do you have power to investigate us? The Constitution has given us right. So it becomes something that we shouldn't even embark. It is on that line, Mr. Speaker. Sani Zorro is a good friend of mine, but this is issue of law. You know, so the issue of law take precedence. It is on this ground I raised this issue, Mr. Speaker. You have the authority to rule on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, you have a plea for ruling. I will rule. I will rule, leader. Let's move on. Time is gone, really. Pardon? No. What I want to say is that in view of the very persuasive argument of Honorable Sani Zorro and the constitutional issues that have been raised, I want to halt the debate now and refer the matter to Committee on Justice or Federal Judiciary to give us a legal opinion on it. Yes. So my ruling is this, leader, let's not cut off this debate. We'll suspend this debate and the matter will be referred to House Committee on Federal Judiciary to give us an opinion. Judiciary and Justice, the two chairmen of Justice and the Federal Judiciary should sit down and give us an opinion, and then we'll continue from there.